Today I feel like painting something wintry and playing with masking fluid. In case you don't know what masking fluid is, it's a liquid that goes down and then it dries into kind of a rubber type material, and it keeps the paper underneath it white so that you can paint on top of it without having to be careful in preserving that space. For this painting, we're going to start by just making some kind of triangular shapes because I want to block in about where I want these trees to be. Then we're going to take our masking fluid and I'm just going to kind of scribble on these tree shapes where I think there might be a bit of snow sitting on the boughs. Once you've put all your masking fluid down, you do need to just let this dry. I don't think it's a good idea to force this to dry because we'd be heating up liquid latex and that's not a great idea. So I'm going to go do something else. You're going to be able to tell that the masking fluid has dried once it changes color. It usually goes to more of a transparent color. Masking fluids are tinted different colors, so the actual color of it might differ, but once it has turned more see-through, it's usually ready to go. Sometimes this takes a couple hours. Grab your watercolors and give them a good spritz. Then I'm going to put a little bit of water in a couple wells, and I'm going to start by mixing up a blue color and then a deep green color. I'm going to start by taking that blue color and I'm going to place that along the top. And then I'm going to be filling my brush with water and I'm going to be pulling that down the page. Then I'm going to let that soak in for just a bit because we're going to hint to some of the greenery in the background without actually having to really paint it. So on the still wet paper, but not too wet, we're going to grab our deep green color and we're just going to kind of drop this up in some tree adjacent shapes. You can vary the color on this, so if you want to, towards the bottom of those tree shapes, you could put a little more blue in your brush and drop that in. Once you have those in, we need to let this dry. I don't like drying masking fluid, so again, I'm going to go do something else while this dries. And then once it's fully dry, I'm going to mix up a darker green color or a more vibrant green color. And I'm going to start to messily place this down on one of our triangular tree shapes. I'm also going to vary the color a bit by adding more water, adding some different greens, adding a bit of yellow, and some blue. I'm going to move over to the next tree, and again, I'm going to vary the colors that I put down here. I'm also going to make sure that I put a little extra dark colors kind of along the area where that tree would be going behind the front tree. I'm just going to repeat this all the way across all of my trees. Now, I don't like drying masking fluid because when you heat it up, it smells funny, and I typically think that's my nose telling me that something should not be heated, so I'm going to let this dry naturally. It's time to remove the masking fluid, which can be the most perilous or the most fun part because you get to see what's underneath it, but you could also damage your paper, and that's one of the reasons why you want to make sure it is fully dry. The wetter your paper is, the more fragile it is. I like to use this to remove it. It's a rubber cement remover, but you can also use a rag or just your finger, and you want to go in kind of soft circles to make sure that you're not tearing the paper as you go. I absolutely love removing the masking fluid and then revealing the white part underneath it. It's just so magical. We have a whole bunch of snow that's sitting on the trees, but I want to add some falling snow, but I want it to kind of be glittery instead of just white. So I'm going to fill my brush with a bunch of water and a silver metallic, and then I'm just going to flick right on the page. One of my favorite things about metallic watercolor is how it actually gets shinier once it's dry. And now there's no masking fluid on here. Guess what we got to do? Let's make it dry. If you feel like playing with masking fluid, this one's pretty easy, and it's also fun to do. I'm loving the sparkly detail. It just reminds me of how snowflakes catch the light in the air.